You know those people that you meet them individually and then you find out that they're dating and you kind of hope the whole time that they're going to get married just because you know that separate they're great, but together they're going to be a force to be reckoned with and they're just going to help change this world. That is Carrie Grace and Greg Vann. So Carrie Grace on TV, she is actually an anchor
She's an anchor in the great city of Louisville.
of Louisville, and she's a beautiful mixed woman. And both Stephen and I had the pleasure of getting to know her while I was in undergrad. And Greg Vann, her husband, was the catch. If you think back to like all these movies where the quarterback, and the popular girl, that's Greg.
That's great.
That's Greg.
Greg and Carrie, that's kind of their story.
That's them. And you guys, even better, they got married on New Year's, which just fits it. Like they rang in the next year, killing it, just going ahead and pushing forward. But here is their story. You guys, we also got to ask them questions about Breonna Taylor and some other things that they've been able to experience that just will really open your eyes up. And we hope it helps to change your heart and get you guys asking those tough questions. Here's Carrie and Greg.
Perfect.
Welcome to the Mizell Show.
An inspiration for a new generation.
Hi, I'm Alana Mizell, a loving mother of two, a devoted wife to Stephen, and an entrepreneur helping women realize their dreams and potential.
And I'm Stephen Mizell, caring father of two, a devoted husband to Alana, and a driving force to help young men prepare for life after college football.
And if that wasn't enough, we're a biracial couple.
She was raised in the North, but I was raised in the South.
The only thing normal about our lives, who am I kidding? It's never normal around here. Join us for the Mizell Show.
Right now. So we would love for you guys to introduce yourselves.
Okay, so my name is Greg Vann from Clarksville, Tennessee. Went to College University of Memphis, go Tigers. That's where I met my wife. That's where I met Alana. That's where I met Steven. And I currently work for Jefferson County Public Schools. I work for the Diversity, Equity, and Poverty Department. So I'm over the Black Student Unions. I work with Black male programming and Black girl programming. I do a lot of different stuff, but pretty much diversity, equity, and poverty programs, we fight for the students that don't have a voice. So any kind of marginalized students, whether it be financially, racial, or any other reason they may be marginalized.
How big the district is?
We have 100,000 students in our district.
Good Lord.
I believe it's the 29th or 31st largest district in the country or something like that. It's a top 30-ish district.
Wow. So I am Carrie Grace Vann. I always say my name because on air I'm Carrie Grace. In real life, I'm Carrie Grace Vann. I am a morning news anchor at WLKY. That's a CBS affiliate in Louisville, Kentucky. And I am originally from Gallatin, Tennessee, right outside of Nashville. I went to University of Memphis, met Greg there in 2000. Well, I met him like when I first got there, 2009, but didn't start dating him until like 2000, something like that. And then I met you guys. So I met Alana through Frosh Camp. Mm-hmm. And I met Steven through the recruitment office because I was in
Tiger Elite.
Yes.
And
I had to go in there often. And that's how I met Steven. So, and then, yeah.
Carrie, what was your definition of success when you graduated from college?
When I graduated college, it was really just like all about accomplishments in terms of, like, am I going to accomplish my dreams and my goals? Am I going to land like that big job or, am I going to go into my field? And to me, I think that success was just accomplishing like society standards of getting a job in your field and really not even some people would say accomplishments like marriage and kids. That was never my definition of accomplishments. In college, it was more so like, how successful can you be in your career?
Mm-hmm.
If you hit all those milestones, then you're definitely successful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how has that changed now that you're a mom of 3 and 2 of which are twins?
I think it's changed because I see having children changed me profoundly. It's made me realize that life is truly about love and just like internal joy more so than anything,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I feel that having children allowed me to see that if they're healthy and happy, I'm successful. You know, if they're good, I'm good. If I am taken care of, if my marriage is healthy, I'm successful. I mean, if all of those things that actually matter in life are fulfilled, then we're good.
Right.
But when it comes to the jobs, the awards, the income levels, the houses and the cars, none of that is nearly as important as our overall well-being, you know. And I think that's how I would define success now, is just having a happy home. That makes me successful.
So you kind of hit on, and Alana can probably speak on this. I think both of you guys could, just being from where you came out of college, very goal driven, very independent, what in your mind leaving college, what made you think, I don't know about a family, I wanted to just go after this goal? Like, was it something that you were raised with? Did college instill that with you? Where did you think you kind of got that inkling from, that you just wanted to focus on your career and not so much the whole family? Because Alana feels kind of the same way. Alana told me when we met, she was like, I'm never having kids. I'm moving to New York and I'm going to do this, that, and the other, which is fine. But like, I want you to answer. That might have Alana answer. Like, what was it that kind of made you feel that way, or made you feel like you need to attack that angle?
Yeah, that's funny because I was the exact same way. I was very much like, you know, I don't want to settle down. I don't want to have kids anytime soon. I just want to pursue my career goals. And I think the reason for that was because a lot of mine had to do with my upbringing. My mom really instilled in me that children slow you down and they don't help you. Like my mom had us very young. She was 18 when she had my sister. She was 20 when she had me. And she really kind of drove into our heads that you shouldn't aspire to be a mom. Like, that's not something, but that came from her own personal struggles as a young single mom, and seeing motherhood to her was struggle. So she felt like if I became a mom, I would struggle. Even she didn't look at it as like, even if you're married, she didn't think that way because she thought of her own experience. So I was raised believing that having children creates struggle. And I didn't want that for myself. I wanted success. And my version of success was get a job, accomplish, you know, all your goals, hit all those milestones in your job, make good money, and just focus on career. Family sets you back.
Right.
And I didn't want to be set back.
Yeah. And what brought yours, Alana?
You?
No, but what brought you from, like you said, hers is her upbringing. So what made you not want to have kids and go towards a career?
My dad wasn't home a lot. So like, I knew that if I had kids, I wouldn't be able to work that much and fulfill what they needed. Like, to actually have both and is nearly impossible. But now I think that it's just a matter of how you communicate to your kids about what you're doing, because we never got sat down and had the conversation that I'd prefer to be home with you, but for you to have your home, I need to provide by going to work, which is a completely different narrative than just always being at work.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Carrie, as a Black woman, how have you encountered unique challenges in your profession?
I think it's pretty obvious that representation is lacking in every field
Mhm.
for Black women, especially positions of leadership. There's a huge disparity when it comes to Black females in leadership positions. And in the business I'm in, which is TV news, you could consider essentially leadership positions as like anchor positions, right?
Right.
So that is something that I didn't really grow up seeing a lot of Black female anchors, right? So for me, if any, right?
Yeah.
So I aspire to be an anchor, a main anchor on a show, on a newscast. That was my aspiration. But obviously when you don't see yourself, it's harder to see yourself in that position.
Oh yeah.
Just take like Louisville, for example. We have 4 TV stations in Louisville.
Mhm.
We have a CBS, Fox, NBC, and ABC affiliate, right? I work for the CBS affiliate. I'm a main anchor at my station, and I am one of maybe 4 Black anchors in this whole market.
Wow.
And if you do the math on that, you got 4 TV stations. Each TV station has a morning, noon, and evening show. And if you count up all the anchors, there's maybe 4 Black women in the market, if that. I mean, my station has 2, and one station has none, one station has 1, and one station has 1. So three Black women anchors in the whole market out of like maybe 20.
Wow.
So the challenges that I face are the need to fill this seat in order for my community to see that it can be done. Because I want little Black girls to see me and go, oh my gosh, mommy, look, she looks like me.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one thing. And the other thing is I feel the need to always be better than, right? So I always feel the need to be dressed better than, hair better than, makeup better than, look better. I have to be on point because I don't get a pass. Whereas I feel like maybe some of my white counterparts can bring less to the table, and I feel like I have to bring more. I'm a mother of 3 with newborn twins, and I still feel the need to make sure like I'm not slacking. So it's like this always constantly feeling like you have to be in overdrive, which in turn causes anxiety because you feel like you got to show up, because you have to be, you just have to bring more to the table than your white counterparts. That's how you feel. And even getting into the industry, I felt that same way. I had to be better than in order to land jobs. And, it's those are some of the challenges that as a Black woman in any industry you're going to face. And in the workplace, you're going to feel like you can't be yourself 100%. Oh my God, seriously? But you're going to feel like you can't be yourself 100% because you don't want to be too Black. You don't want to, I could go on and on about the instances where, you're in the workplace and there are things you want to say, or, but you feel like you can't because you don't want to be viewed as either angry or having an attitude or, whatever. So those things, those are definitely challenges.
No, I think those are great tidbits for us to hear about it. Like I said, also, it's always good to hear from behind the scenes in every industry as a African American male, female, even just females in general. You see someone on a stage and you think, oh my God, she's made it, but they don't see behind the struggle or behind coming to work every single day or what you're going through at home. They just see, hey, she's on the news and she's at the desk, so she's made it. But it's good for you to be able to be open and share about all of that. And so I see Greg has joined us. How's it going, boss?
I'm pretty good. I want to add something to what she just said.
Yeah.
Like when you have a certain industry, a lot of times people feel like, because I think another part of that pressure is in a lot of industries, you feel like once they hire the Black person, then they met the quota. Like we're diverse now because we have somebody that's not white, a white male or white in general. And I think the other pressure is that you feel like you have to be on your P's and Q's because you know that if you mess up, you may not be replaced by somebody that looks like you. So you feel like you represent all Black people when you're in a certain position because you know that they have this one spot for a Black person. So if you get hired and you got to do the best job possible, because you not only represent yourself, but you're also paving the way for hopefully somebody to come in behind you to replace you. So I think a lot of times you feel like you kind of on your probationary period, even if you're there for years, because you just feel like you have to represent for other Black people that may come behind you.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
What is the demographic makeup of Louisville?
We're
40%
like
Black.
40% Black.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
So,
And there's only 3 Black female anchors.
Yeah. And-
3 Black females. Yes, 3 Black females. Yes,
Wow.
in the market, and there's like maybe 20 anchors.
You know, in this day and age that we're living in, with, you know, the racial tension, the injustices, everything you want to name, how did you feel pressured to be an anchor in the city of Breonna Taylor? Did you feel that they put you out there because you were the African American female? Like, oh, Caray can do it, you know? Because
I wish people could see this video later on, because Carrie's eyebrows just went.
I think, and I think that's why I want to ask you, because in my role, in a lot of roles in college football, they expect, you know, the certain population, like, hey, you're going to help these guys through it because you're an African American male. And so for you to be an anchor in the city where all this is going on, did they just say, hey, Caray, this is your job? Or how did that go down?
Well, this is the reason that I raised my eyebrows, is because I was pregnant. I was very pregnant. And so I wasn't allowed to go to the protest because my boss wouldn't let me, because she was scared.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, because a lot of our reporters were getting injured and tear gassed, and they were getting hit with rubber bullets every night. And so I was not allowed to cover it because of the pregnancy. So I say, unfortunately, didn't get to do a lot of the reporting I wanted to do. Now, in the early days of the Breonna Taylor case, when we were first getting a lot of the open records requests that we had filed, when we were first getting all that info showing us what really went down that night, I was reporting on that, because we were getting the files and we were going, hold on, what's up with this no-knock warrant? Oh my God, like we were like digging through all that stuff. And when that was coming out, I went to her apartment and I was there outside. This is before like the FBI got involved. We were there, reporting, even like the night it happened, obviously we had a crew there that night because we thought it was simply an officer involved shooting, which obviously we know now it was not. But so even like, I remember a couple like days after it happened, I remember reporting on us just saying a Black female was killed in this officer involved drug raid. Like I remember how simplified it was. And then I remember an Instagram influencer I follow tweeting, putting a photo on Instagram of Breonna Taylor. This was way back in like April. And she was like, why is nobody talking about this case? And I remember talking to my bosses and being like, we need to dig a little bit harder and find out what's going on with LMPD and why they're being so mum about this particular officer involved shooting, because we have officer involved shootings all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we need to find out what's going on, because there's people outside of Louisville asking questions about this. And then when we started to do some digging, it was like just like the bomb dropped and everything came out, and we realized like, oh crap, this like what police told us isn't true. And that's when we were like, and it really was it was so surreal for a journalist, because in that moment, like everything really boiled to the surface, and we realized that what we had been reporting wasn't accurate, because that's not what really happened. And so everything started coming to light. And then I was really pregnant. And as the protests started happening, as people started to come into the city from all over the United States and protest, like I wasn't even allowed to be down there. And you can ask him like how I felt about that.
Yeah, I mean,
Greg, how she feel like?
As another thing is, we had a premature water breaking for during her pregnancy. So a lot of the protests,
really, really bad protests. We were in
the hospital, so we were watching it on TV
from a different state.
Yeah.
And I was literally like, oh my God, that's our city, like this, and we're not even there.
Yeah.
And like I remember one night, we live really close to the airport, the like private airport, and I remember like our chopper, our like TV station chopper is at the airport near our house. So I heard, it was like 2 a.m. and I just heard like helicopters going off, and I was like, what is going on? Like I realized like it must be bad downtown because like, but I wasn't allowed to be a part of it all. And I remember that
She felt like she was robbed of the experience. It's like people was talking about how, you know, your whole life as a journalist, this is the story that
Right.
you want to be part of, you know. So it was unfortunate, but you know, God does everything intentionally, and we don't know if what we believe that she was not a part of it for a reason, you know, because like she said, she had coworkers who were getting injured. They had cars that were.
Yeah, we had cars set on fire, news cars set on fire and vandalized, and we had people who were, you know, reporters that were attacked, and I wasn't even allowed to be down there. So I feel like it was protection,
Right.
but at the same time, there was a lot of frustration because as a Black female, I feel like I was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I needed to be, like my voice needed to be heard in this. Like I needed to be on the ground with my coworkers talking about this, and I wasn't able to be, and it really, really hurt me. But
And I do want to say, I know that a lot of times when you only see the negative stuff on TV, and even though we're saying all this, 95, 96, 97% of the protests were peaceful.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like people think it was just mayhem. People were texting me like, hey, stay away from downtown. Like, man, it's really not the way it looks on TV.
Yeah.
You only see the stuff that looks good on the camera. Like seeing people walk peacefully doesn't get as many clicks as somebody throwing a brick through a car window. So there was a little bit of that. Wasn't everything, but there definitely was a segment of her coworkers that were injured and
and
were.
Greg did go protest one day. I, you know, even then I was nervous because I was pregnant, and we knew that for the most part things were peaceful, but at an instant they could turn ugly because we never knew what was going to happen. You know, there were shootings killed, and you know, he went down there to protest, and I remember being like, oh my God, I just hope everything goes well.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you got newborns at home.
Well, they weren't at home yet.
Well, you got newborns, you're in a pandemic. You see it on TV, people being injured and all that kind of stuff. So you like, dang, should I go? But then you think about, you know, I remember when I was in school, everybody would always talk about civil rights. And if I was around when that happened, I would have done blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, this is the time to prove what you would have done. You know,
Yes.
The literal, the same things that were done back then would have been done now. So like, if you're not going to be active now, you wouldn't have been active then. You're just talking. So it was important for me to be able to tell my kids, even though we were out of town, even though this was going on, that was going on, I still made sure I went down there to stand on what I believed in, because I know that one day I'm going to have to answer to them about when they're learning about it in school, they're going to ask me, Daddy, what did y'all do?
Yeah.
Right.
So I was nervous about that too because I was pregnant and we were trying to be extra cautious to not catch COVID in a crowd and like a crowd of protest. You know, like that's not a good place to be for COVID. So I was also nervous about that, but you know, I'm glad he did what he did and he went because I know that he feels like at the end of the day, he's on the right side of history. And, you know, when our kids do ask about it, he can say like, I had to go.
Right. Right.
One more question before we change gears. Just walk me through, and some of our listeners through, what was the actual timeline between George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, like just what was that time frame? Because I honestly don't know. And I wanted to see if you could help us out.
Breonna Taylor was killed first.
Oh,
So
okay.
She was in the spring. And
March.
honestly,
She was killed March.
like she just talked about, it really wasn't as big of a deal because I think not to fault Louisville media as much as media in general. I think 90-something% of media outlets, when they're told something from a police department, they just believe what they're told.
Yeah.
You know, and it takes special outlets to be willing and able from leadership to, you know, dig deeper. So, and plus, when you're dealing with news, you know, there's new news every day. That's why it's news, you know, so it's hard to concentrate on something that happens on March 13th, when on March 14th, you're going to have other stuff happen. On March 15th, you're going to have stuff happen. So and you only have so many reporters in a room that are able to work. So I know a lot of times people, why isn't the media talking about this? Well, you got to realize you only have a certain amount of reporters that can go out and look at stories, and they can't ignore today's news because of something that happened last week. So to say all that, it happened in the spring, but George Floyd definitely helped put a spotlight on the situation with Breonna Taylor, because when you had Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, it was kind of like an explosion. Like, we've seen enough. Like, we in a pandemic, we're sitting at home, but we can't, because I even had some of my white friends that were like, man, like when George Floyd happened, I had more of my white friends reach out to me than ever before to say like, man, I'm sorry, I didn't know all this was going on. But during a pandemic, they can't just turn to sports and ignore CNN, or they can't just watch something else, because a lot of even TV shows, aren't being produced because they're in the pandemic in New York, just like we are in Kentucky and Tennessee. So they can't just ignore it to look at something else. So it was finally in the face of people where they were like, "Hey man, I didn't even realize all this was even happening to the Black community. I didn't know that people would get killed and stuff would just get swept under the rug by legal entities that just ignore, some things that are actually happening." So George Floyd definitely put a spotlight on other things that were happening around the country. So unfortunately, Breonna Taylor didn't get the attention that she deserved until initially. But I think she eventually got the attention she deserved, and even some legal things changed, like Breonna's law was put into place. But yeah.
So when your white friends started texting you guys, like, "I'm so sorry," what was that reaction? Like, yeah, it's been happening, or
Yeah, I'm sorry. Nobody texted me and said I'm sorry.
I say my reaction was I was thankful because people weren't. I was thankful that people were seeing it, because I feel like a lot of times what happens is you see a protest or you see something happening and you like, why violence isn't going to get you what you want. You don't realize you all you see is the reaction to the injustice. So when you see some Black people that light something on fire because they're so upset, people don't realize it's not this one instance that's made us upset. It's the fact that it's on camera this time. We've been telling y'all for years that this happens to us all the time, but now when you see this happening on camera, it's like, now y'all have to believe. Anyway, my reaction was that people were actually asking me for books and articles and like, "Can you show me something that can help me improve my knowledge on stuff like this?" So like I said, I believe in God and I believe everything happens for a reason. I'm not happy that anybody was killed unjustly. And I hope every family gets, they'll never get their loved ones back, but I hope that cities and law enforcement or whoever can do whatever they can to try to right the wrongs that were done to different people as best they can. But if somebody's going to die unjustly, I'm happy that people actually see it and hopefully it can help. Because my thing is, y'all are raising kids, we're raising kids, all of our friends that we went to college with and high school with, they're all raising kids. And hopefully we're teaching our kids like stuff that we're seeing on TV, what's right and what's wrong, how they can be better people than what they're seeing on TV, how they can be change makers, how they can be brave enough when they're in the room to speak up, or when their friend says something that's racist that they can call it out. So to sum it up, I was happy that hopefully it's going to create a better future than.
No, I think that's great. And earlier, Greg, you were spitting facts about the news media like you're married to an anchor or something. Talking about the news, and so I was like, "Whoa, look at Greg." So, Greg, I want to ask you, as a man who was super involved in college, you were off to a phenomenal career out of college, and you're still in that trajectory. How have you been able to not so much take a back seat, but how are you able to continue to be a leader of your household and support Caray with her career, and now you have 3 little ones?
Man, it's hard. I think the hardest part is mainly her schedule. So the thing with news, which most people don't think about, either you have to be there like 4 a.m, or if you're a main anchor, 3 a.m. Either you have to be there.
Greg, break down a day for us, Greg. I want to hear from you.
So Caray's alarm goes off at like 2:50 a.m. So a lot of times, of course, the babies don't, well, sometimes, I know she'll say that they wake up a lot of times before she goes to work. Majority of the time, they don't wake up till after she's gone. So I'm feeding, of course, not just one child, 2 kids. I'm feeding them while she's at work. And a lot of times they don't wake up at the same time. So you deal with that balance. Should I wake the other one up so I can go ahead and knock them both out and then get enough sleep? But then you're like, I won't wake him up because he's looking peaceful. Then I lay back down, but then I can't really sleep because I have this anxiety. But man, as soon as you fall asleep, the other one's gonna wake up. So you might as well just stay up. So it's a battle. So she goes to work and I wake up. Luckily, we have a babysitter that comes here. I take my 4-year-old to preschool and they come back to the boys. But it's tough. And what I was saying is that most people don't think about the news. Either you have to be there like 3 a.m. in the morning, your anchor for the morning news, or you have to be there like 2:30 or 3:30, 3 o'clock p.m. and your spouse won't be there for dinner time and putting kids in bed. So really, it's a hard career to have when you have a family, especially when you have 3 kids, and especially when you have 3 kids under 5, and especially when you have 3 kids under 5 that are twins. But we're blessed. But yeah, so it's hard to balance everything out. We don't She gets in bed between 8 and 9:15, anywhere between that time. So a lot of times I try to, make sure the 4-year-old is put to bed at the right time and let her get her rest. I try to let her get a nap every day. I take care of the kids while she's taking a nap. So it's tough, but I wouldn't complain because I know I always try to look at things from the positive point of view, even though it's really hard when it's like 3 a.m. But
Yes.
I'm thinking about kids. It's a lot of people out there that don't have kids, and they would do anything to have kids, and we're blessed to have 3 of them. And I think only like 1% or 1 point some odd percent of even having twins are identical twins. So we have identical twin boys. And I mean, we could have had 3 girls, and I would have had a gray beard and gray hair if I had in the house with me. So I'm thankful that God has blessed us with boys and a girl, that we have healthy kids. I mean, because they were premature. So
that
it
could
could
have come with a whole gamut of issues,
Yeah.
how premature they were, and it didn't. thankfully.
We had a good support system. So when we were stuck in the hospital for 10 weeks, we had people that supported us and helped us out, whether it was food or even just phone calls. Like, we just checking on y'all to make sure y'all okay, calling us to pray with us and all that kind of stuff. So it's hard, but I think that everything that we've been faced with, we've been blessed with something to help us get through it. It's just really about mindset. It's easy to say, look at things on the bright side, or look at things glass half full. But we really have to do that with the situation we're in, because if not, we'll be depressed, man. I mean, we still struggle with it because, getting up at 2, 3 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, through the week, by Wednesday or Thursday, you beat. And, on Friday and Saturday, all she wants to do is sleep. Even with me, even though I don't wake up per se at that time and stay up, I struggle with, once I wake up, going back to sleep. So by Wednesday, Thursday, I'm beat too. And then when Friday night comes, it's like, I want to stay up because I haven't had fun all week, I feel like. So I feel like, when you were a kid and you don't have school the next day, so you just want to stay up as late as you can because you can. So on Friday and Saturday nights, I try to stay up, but then she wants to go to sleep because she's tired. So, it takes a lot of communication and patience for sure.
Yeah, and that's the one thing about staying up, is that one thing me and Lana always joke about. Your kids never tell you when they're going to wake up. You're like, you want to be like, hey, I'm going to bed at 11 at night, so that means you need to sleep until 8. But no, this is the day you want to wake up, and then when you wake up, they want to sleep until like 8 or something. You're like, what? Why didn't you tell me that night before that you're gonna sleep in?
Right, and it's not even the fact that my daughter. My thing with her is she wakes up with 110. Like, her gallon is full of energy. So even the fact that you woke up early, I could be okay if we could come in here and sit down and just watch TV, drink coffee, eat cereal, just chill. But as soon as she wakes up, her favorite line is, "Daddy, play with me. Mommy, play with me." Yes. And her definition of playing with me is not us just sitting there and like, she wants you active. Like, she's like a teacher. It's like, no, you're not engaged. You need to put your phone down. You need to look me in my eyes. You need to listen and all that kind of stuff. So it's tough for her.
Did you know that I sell makeup? Not only do I sell makeup, but the makeup that I sell is 3D makeup, which allows you to highlight and contour your face in a super simple compact. As a mom, I could not survive without my simplified routine. Not only that, but it's exactly what you need. Exactly when you need it, all in one spot. Go ahead and check out Alana Mizell on Instagram or alanamizell.com to learn more. With you guys kind of mentioned this a little bit, but how has your marriage grown through all of those challenges?
Well, we just celebrated 7 years last week. So that's a blessing.
Congratulations.
No, they're like not even a year.
Oh,
Yeah, because y'all are like, what, 8 years?
8 in March.
8 in March.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a challenge. We've been, marriages are work. We have worked on, I think the boys have been the biggest challenge thus far.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to this, it was like we were coasting.
Yeah, we thought we were working hard with one child, but that was easy.
Yeah, like with just Gigi, our marriage was, we didn't realize how like much time we spent together. And in twins, and now 3 kids, we're like, I'm like, oh, hey, babe. You're like, hey, I haven't even talked to you today. Like, you good? Because we like, our schedules are different. And then like, I come home and I go to sleep. And then like, we're like if
I'm still working.
he's still working when I come home, and then I go to sleep and I wake up, I go get Gigi. Once she comes in the door, it's like,
She's the center of
woo!
attention.
She's like, look at me, look at me. And then after, I mean, finally in the evening, I think that the only thing that keeps us grounded is just like, we are both, I mean, God is our number one, and God is our priority. We like do our best to remember this is just a season. And one day these kids, not even long, when they're 8, 9, 10, they're going to be doing their own thing. And we're going to be like back to us, And so, I mean, right now we're just really walking through like a tough season with the kids.
And I think that also when we do have help, like if we go to Tennessee to visit grandparents and that kind of stuff, when we do have help, we allow our family to watch them for a while so we can go out and do something. Or even last week when she was on vacation, we pretty much stayed together every night after we put the kids to sleep, like watching them, even though she fell asleep on the movies that she picked to watch. We at least sat on the couch and got to spend some time together. So I think that you have to take advantage of the time you do get together. Also, I think it's important that, for me especially, us to give each other some time alone too, because when you work all day and you have kids, even if it's just her sitting in the bathtub for 20, 25 minutes, some time to just get some peace. Like yesterday, I went for a walk so I could get 30 minutes of just peace. And that makes me, even though it's not time with her, I feel like it makes me better when I am with her. To get some time where I can decompress. And then when she was in the bathtub, she took a bath. I timed it. I think it was 23 minutes and 52 seconds that I was with the kids. I'm just playing. But she takes longer baths to get some time alone. So I think that us giving each other time alone makes us better when we are apart and when we're with the kids. So. And then also another important thing, we used to, I think our daughter, when we were talking and she would say, excuse me, or mommy, daddy, we would just tend to her. But now we've got in the habit of telling her she has to wait because we're talking and like different, even when we are around them, still being able to communicate with each other.
Okay, I have another question. So you guys obviously have Black children. How was it? I mean, Gigi's old enough to where she was probably asking questions during, all of the heavy stuff.
One time I fielded it. So I was on the couch and we were watching the news because I wasn't at work. I was off. And the protests were happening. And she said, Mommy, why is she crying? And it was like, who was it? It was like a protester. Somebody was crying. And I was like, I'm going to answer this one. And I remember just being like, she's sad because sometimes Black people don't get treated fairly and they are protesting. And I explained what protesting was. I said, because they want everybody to be treated the exact same way. And she was like, oh, okay. And then she kind of just went about her business. But I didn't want to say, I don't want to lie. I didn't want to sugarcoat it. I was like, it is important to instill in her as early as possible that injustice is real. I don't want her living in a sugar-coated world. She doesn't need to, and some people would think I'm harsh, but I'm a realist. And she needs to know that there will be times when she is judged by the color of her skin, where her brothers may be judged by the color of their skin. And while we are fighting to change that, until it is changed, that's going to be the reality. So I just want her to always know. I don't want it to be a question for her. I don't want her to be like, because for me, I had a culture shock. I had issues because I was raised in a predominantly white town. Yes, I'm biracial. I identify as a Black woman because my mother is Black, but I was raised a certain way. And then I had a culture shock. And, upon the realization that, not that I didn't always know I was viewed as a Black woman by society, but, sometimes it just really sinks in.
Stuff that Caray said, we're big on her treating everybody fairly and to be nice to everybody. Because even when we watched like Cliff at the Big Red Dog yesterday, we had a conversation about, it was a book we read last night about treating people nicely, no matter what they look like, no matter what they act like, and being nice and fair with everybody. So I think it's big for all parents to do that. Sometimes it's skin color, sometimes it's sexual orientation, sometimes it's we watching a TV show and I didn't want to rewind. She wanted me to rewind something because she was laughing at a kid that was on there, but the kid looked like it was special needs, like it was on crutches, and the eyes were cross-eyed or lazy, like a lazy eye. And she thought it was funny because it was a cartoon. And I didn't rewind it because I didn't want her. Well, I rewinded it and I showed. I said, "Look, we don't laugh at people that look differently than us or that don't have the same abilities we have." Yeah. So I rewinded it and I said, "We're not going to laugh at her, when she comes on." So I watched it. She didn't laugh, and I explained to her, no matter what people look like, no matter what they, what disability they may have, we treat everybody the same way. So I think it's important to do that for everything, race, sexual orientation, ability versus disability. So we're big on treating people the right way.
How do you guys feel the injustice that has been given to you guys has changed how you parent Gigi?
I really don't think it has, to be honest with you, because like I said, a lot of times people think that, they see something on TV and they're like, man, that's messed up that that happened to him. But I feel like I've been dealing with this my whole life and I've been seeing stuff like this. I mean, even in college, I remember being pulled over by the police, not Park Avenue, but one of those side streets off Park Avenue that run parallel to Getwell, I believe, or something like no, it runs parallel to Park, but it was one of those back neighborhoods. And when I was in college, I had a car that was kind of old and beat up. And we got pulled over by police officers, and they wanted to see our ID and they wanted to know where we were going. And once they saw that we had college IDs, they looked at us like we were different, like we were okay. But then another car rolled by. It was an old school car with black guys in it. And they ran back to their car and they sped up after that car. It's like they were fishing for something, but they looked at us differently because we weren't those type of black guys, because we were in college or whatever. So like we see stuff out, and of course when I was in high school, I wasn't a college student, so I've been profiled and pulled over and treated differently when I walk in stores, and I've seen it my whole life. I don't feel like the injustice that, it was a racial awakening last year for a lot of people, but I feel like it was nothing that I wasn't used to. I mean, whether it's Trayvon Martin or Sandra Bland, it's so much stuff has happened. It's just like I said, people have had the luxury of ignoring it for so long because you don't have to watch CNN, you don't have to watch the news. You can just flip on sports, and that's the great unifier. We watch sports and we don't care we go to a Tiger football game. It don't matter what color you are. We all giving high fives, we drink beer together, we all gonna have fun together. And when you leave out of those gates, things may change. But when you can, rely on stuff like sports and music, you just ignore a lot of stuff. When you take away everything that you have, and you pretty much have to watch the news to kind of be up to date on what's going on, but you can't help but see stuff like this. I think for a lot of people it was awakening, but I think for me I was just happy that everybody could see it, because I'm optimistic and I really do believe. Some people don't believe people can change, but I believe people really can change. And if they see this, if they have any kind of heart at all, if you see somebody killed unjustly, you should want to see something different, and you want to teach your child differently. So I think a lot of people could cry ignorant before last year, but now it was thrown in our face so much that I think that everybody has to realize that no, racism has not ended, and we still have a lot of work to do as a country and as a community and as a society. So I don't think it changed anything.
Well, I want to applaud both of you, because although you say that you've just lived with it, what we've realized is that I have to continuously remind Stephen that it's not normal. Like whatever normal is, it's still not okay that in his lunchroom there was segregation. Like it's still not okay that you were profiled ever. Right. It's still not okay that Caray is forced by society to see herself as a Black woman, and that it drastically changed at many points in her life. That's still not okay. And both of you have chosen to raise your family, making sure that they know it's not okay and we're not going to live that way anymore. And I love that. I love that about you.
And I think that I'm just happy and hopeful that other people will do the same thing with their family. So when our kids grow up, they won't have to deal with the same stuff we've dealt with. And of course, what we deal with is nothing compared to what our parents and grandparents deal with. But hopefully society just continues to get better. And we, it's cliche, but we leave the world better than we found it. So hopefully it just continues.
So if you guys are enjoying this, definitely leave us a review. Give us the feedback. If there's something you guys want us to talk about, reach out to us on our website at themizellshow.com. There is a contact section. You can put it in there. We would love to hear about it. Or you can always go over to Instagram at The Mizell Show. Also, as always, don't forget to screenshot this episode and just add it to your stories and tag us on Instagram, on Facebook at The Mizell Show. Thanks, guys. Are you loving The Mizell Show? Well, we love you all. And did you know that you can have me and Steven talk to your team or a group of 25 of your friends? All it takes is 25 people showing up on either a Zoom call, a Facebook Live, or really anywhere. Hopefully in person sooner rather than later. But how do you get us? So all you have to do is email themizellshow@gmail.com, or you can direct message us on Instagram at The Mizell Show.